Two winters ago, during the Christmas season, a Swiss man by the name of Gene got his Christmas wish. Gene was put into the Guinness World Book of Records. Now, what did Gene do that got him his Christmas wish, that got him into the Guinness World Book of Records? Well, Gene amassed the world's largest number of do not disturb signs. He collected 2,975 do not disturb signs. He was a worldwide traveler, and he paid for and swept some of those signs. But it got him his Christmas wish. The thing that he really wanted, to be in the Guinness World Book of Records. The little girl and her family went to see her grandfather. Again, it was during the Christmas season. As the family went to see Grandpa, they knew that this would be Grandpa's last Christmas because Grandpa was dying. Now, the little girl loved to spend time with her grandfather, and he had a collection of hourglasses. And she loved playing with those glasses, and Grandpa was okay with allowing her to play with the hourglasses as long as she held them carefully. She liked watching the sand kind of sit through the hourglass. And as she was playing with the hourglasses, she looked at her grandfather and she said, "Grandpa, how come you have so many hourglasses?" Grandpa looked at his little granddaughter and said, "I have so many hourglasses to remind me that time is one of the greatest gifts that we have." "You only have so much sand," said Grandpa. "And when it's gone, it's gone." The little girl looked at her grandfather and nodded as if she really understood what he meant. The next day was Christmas Day. And as everyone was giving their Christmas gifts, the little girl waited and brought to her grandfather her little Christmas gift. It was a little box, and she had gotten it all by herself. She had wrapped it all by herself. No one knew what was in this little box other than the girl. She gave it to her grandpa, and he opened it up, and then tears started to well up in his eyes. And he grabbed his little granddaughter and held her close. Because, you see, inside that little box was sand. What are you hoping for during this Christmas season? What is it that you really want? For some people, what they really want is a little more time with that loved one who is slowly slipping away. And then there are others who just want to make a new record, like Gene with his Do Not Disturb signs. But there are some who really want a job this Christmas. And there are others who just want a place to call home, who are just tired of sleeping in a homeless shelter. And then there are some who want the vicious cycle of abuse to end this Christmas. And there are others who want a loved one who's serving in the military to come home from deployment and just be home safe and sound. And then there are some who just want all the violence to end in this country of ours. No more mass shootings. What is it that you want this Christmas? What's your hope? What's your wish? Whatever it is, I want you to realize that many times what you want, what you wish for Christmas is only one risk away. Did you hear that? It's only one risk away. When you look at the Christmas story, you discover that there's a lot of risk-taking going on in that Christmas story. There's God who wishes to have a closer relationship with his children, so he risks sending Jesus into the world. And then there's Mary, who wants to be a servant, who wants to be used by God. And she takes the risk of partnering with God in this wonderful quest to give birth to God's Son. And then there's Joseph. He wants to be married. And so he takes the risk of marrying Mary and believing her story about being pregnant. And there's wise men and the shepherds. They want to see God. And so they take the risk and they leave their stations and travel to find the baby Jesus. Risk. It's found throughout the whole Christmas story. And what the message is here is that if what you want is good and noble and true, it's just one risk away. If what you want is good and noble and true, the Christmas story says it's just a risk away. So take the risk with God's help. Take the risk and make that phone call to someone that you haven't spoken to in 10 years. Take the risk and try for a different job if you're in a dead-end job. Take the risk and break the cycle of abuse by going to the police department. Take the risk and better your marriage by going to see a counselor. The Christmas story says that if what you want, what you wish for, is good and noble and true, as it was for those in the Christmas story, then take the risk, the Christmas story says. Because when you take the risk, you'll discover that God's with you. Just as God was with Joseph and Mary and the shepherds and the wise men. Take the risk. The year was 1775. David Snow and his son decided to go fishing at Cape Cod. Now, at that time, when you went fishing out on the waters, we were taking a risk because, you see, there were pirates that were always sailing along the coastline. And if they find people out there fishing, they just pull right up and they go into a pirate. They take you as a prisoner and force you to be a pirate. But father and son wanted to go fishing, and so they took the risk, and they went out into the waters, and sure enough, around the bend came a pirate ship, and it set right on them, and they were forced to come on board, and they were made to be pirates. 2 months later, now as pirates, that pirate ship encountered a British frigate, and the British frigate fired on that ship, and as the ship was sinking, the frigate plucked some of the pirates out of the water, and David Snow and his son were plucked out of the water. But of course, the British assumed they were pirates and didn't believe any of their stories about being forced to be a pirate, and so they were taken prisoner. The frigate sailed back to England, and David and his son ended up in a prison. As in prison, they drew close to God, and they never lost their hope of wanting to someday get back to their home in the colonies. One day, they saw an opportunity to escape, and so they took the risk. And they got away on foot. Made their way 15 miles to the English Channel. There they found an old rickety boat. They put the boat in the English Channel, and somehow that boat stayed afloat long enough to get them across to France. They sold the rickety boat, leaks and all, for just enough money to buy passage onto a frigate bound for the colonies. Came back to the colonies and discovered that the Revolutionary War was taking place. But now they had to go from North Carolina, where they landed, way up to Maine. So they carefully made their way. Twice they almost got forced into service by the Revolutionary Army. Once they almost were captured by the British Army, but they made it home safe and sound. They'd taken all kinds of risks, traveled thousands of miles, but their 7-year journey, please hear that, 7-year journey had come to an end. As the story is told, when father and son walked into their home, Mrs. Snow was sitting there sewing, and without missing a stitch, she looked up, she saw her husband and son, and she said, "Welcome home. What took you so long?" And that's the question I think sometimes God asks of us. What took you so long to take the risk, to reach out for that which was good and noble and true? What took you so long to come to church? What took you so long to decide to change jobs? What took you so long to get the medical attention that you know you've needed for the last 2 years? Take the risk. Because when you take the risk, you discover God is with you. As God was with Joseph, as God was with Mary so long. Let the church say amen. Amen. Well, right now, we're going to have Caleb and Jade come up. They're going to sing a song. After that, there's going to be the offering. And then after